Very fast sports cars are certainly expensive, but it is obvious that they will lose their value if they are completely destroyed. American YouTuber Lee Carter will film his crazy journey trying to revive the burned American muscle monster Dodge Challenger SRT Demon model 2018. But before we start, if you like repairing cars and working on mechanics, then subscribe here with us to the channel. The beginning will be in the storage yard of a destroyed car auction located in Las Vegas. Before he entered the carriage, he saw the car on the ground, and I wish he did not see the truth. It is impossible for any sane person to think of building a car like this. Even if you use a piece of scrap, it will not be profitable at all. 3 areas were exposed to a severe fire, and it is clear that for many minutes, also in the hood area and at the engine that registered that it was not running. The interior of the car was completely charred, and from under the car, the fire engulfed almost half of the floor together. One of the few things in the car that is 100% okay is the Demon logo. I don't know what he was thinking about, but when the auction started, he repeatedly entered and bid on the car, or what was left of it, and actually recklessly bought this one from this burner car at a price of $177,000. Before we take a tour around this disaster, let us see why this car is so special that it is possible for someone to pay a small amount to own it, even if it looks like this. The model will be a high-performance version based on the Challenger. Limited copies are limited to 3,300 cars only and are sold exclusively to the American and Canadian markets. It has one of the most powerful engines in the history of America. It is a second cylinder with a capacity of 6,400 cc. It is equipped with a supercharger. The dangerous engine is known as the Hellcat, but here it produces a power of 840 horsepower. This model was used as propaganda at the time of its production launch, and the announcement conference for it was very, very rigid. At that time, they brought Vin Diesel to present the car, which covers a quarter mile in the world of 9 seconds, accelerating to 100 in just 2.5 seconds, and it was accompanied by several bikes from the same company, the official price of which was double the original high-end Challenger versions at $100,000 officially in the year 2018. But many of them had violent accidents and were burned and completely destroyed, including the copy in front of us. This fire left this car similar to the cars of the Mad movie, Max. Any part that is on fire will often have to be changed. The subject will be more involved if the inspection is divided into 3 parts.
The suspension system with the mounting frame from behind and in front of the chassis lines, as well as the external chassis parts, the interior of the vehicle, and anything related to driving from the inside. Finally, the mechanics will be the most expensive thing in this project, which is the entire drive system, the engine and the transmission with all the systems, and the electricity around them. With the forklift will raise the vehicle. The view of the rear axle at the differential is intact, but the 2 wheels, right and left, are broken. The scene that they all stopped at was the parts and gears of the transmission coming out of its chassis, dislodged and separated violently when connected to the clutch assembly. The issue is a joke in the first place, that the visible damage and fire on the vehicle is not enough, but every time they turn, they will find endless problems, with almost half of the cap coming out. He pushes the car into the garage. The tires that were destroyed will be specific to this model. The price for 4 people will be $6,000. From the beginning, do not expect that this building habit will be an investment at all. He's just playing and making money. This is enough to remove the destroyed parts. Let us enter the stage of disassembling all these parts. The crush bar will be dismantled and the cooling fluid will be released. The huge main radiator will come out of its place and the entire cooling water will leak. From the fan frame, it is made of plastic, but it never burned due to the heat. But the corner of the radiator is all cracks, and the engine from the front looks excellent. The belt and pulleys are all safe from the fire. It was from the side. All the charred parts of the braid will come out. Completely, the power steering motor will come out. On the other hand, the power steering oil hoses will come down and drain the engine oil. But they will surprise each other, and it's possible that even one of the cylinders will have a hole in it, and it will disconnect the connections of the box. The environment, and he will lower the pipes of nothingness in full. He saws the drive shaft, then she saw that he was unscrewing the screws of the guy who lifted the gearbox with a flash, trying to remove the cover cylinder of the transmission. and preventing him from cutting off the last fastening. The gears themselves are intact on one hand, but it is certainly of no benefit. The gear on the copy he has will be automatic, and he wants this project. In the end, the car will be manual, and it will cut the oil lines from the outside. He cheated because all of this part was already destroyed. He tried to wind the engine from the front, and the movement would be smooth and easy. He came out of the air conditioning lines and broke the accumulated carbon from the fire. He pulled the AC from the side of the passenger side. Any wire in this car was completely finished. He would remove the screws holding the row frame and raise the body of the car above the car. The damn engine came out of the car with the entire external view saying that it is dead too. Even if it is not going to be rebuilt, he can benefit from healthy parts. Because what? There is an engine that will be completely destroyed.
But he did not buy the car because of the engine, bought it because of this chassis from a limited edition. The crown of the problem is that if this chassis has a major defect like this project will be finished before it even begins. He begins to remove all the parts. He wants to clear the chassis basin of anything inside it. He will dismantle the hinges of the hood and take out the servo, or what is the brake poster. He will clean the area of traces of burned wires, and it will continue. He scraped off all the layers of black carbon, and after hours of work, the first step was completed. He left one of the front lights behind, thinking to himself that there is hope that this car will return to its original condition. Secondly, the important thing is that the appearance of the surfaces of the chassis is good. The heat, of course, completely removed all layers of paint and protection. He will enter the car again into the workshop, and I will think about the entire rear. Many of the connections are broken and distorted, but the car underneath is very intact. Even the gasoline tank was not damaged from any direction in the fire that reached the area from underneath, but its effect was slight, removing the heat insulation layer, which was found in the layers of bonding with the layers beneath it. Until now, there is no dent, puncture, or crack anywhere under the vehicle. The explosion of the movement did not affect the cavity surrounding it. The condition of the external body remains. Any pieces that disintegrate without welding will certainly change. The problem here in the roof and quarter will be changed. The rear, north, and the entire side frame on both sides, and the uprights on the front, of course. But he is still determined to rebuild the same chassis. The next step is to check the condition of the engine. It looks good, but most likely there will be problems due to the fire, but it certainly will not be worse than the level of the transmission. The gear frame will come out, and the screws of the torque converter will come out. Then the flywheel and the crankshaft are intact, and there is no oil leakage. The engine will be raised on a sidearm. The spark plugs all look good, but one of the holes has rust. Each cylinder has 2 spark plugs. Here, the total is 16 spark plugs for this engine, in 2 of them, but they are the ones that are different. Also, the number 1 cylinder is escaping pressure, which will cut off the supercharger's belt. The metal around it has warped parts from the fire, keeping the ignition away, and the view here is not the best thing for this system. But the movement of the router is smooth, making the intercooler holes open. There is no problem with the air fan. He will remove the entire charger from its place. He decides to send it to a specialized person who will examine it further. He dismantles the engine mount and its bracket. He takes out the hydraulic cylinder and removes the cylinder head cover. Anything that is not metal in composition, it changes the appearance. It is considered clean. The braid fire from the outside is what created a difficult shape for the engine, but from under the hood, the situation is as it is. He will remove the rocker levers or direction column from under them. He pulls the bushing rods and loosens the tensioner. A disassembly is complete in the head of the cylinders, and unfortunately, one of them is filled with a lot of coolant. The engine is wrapped on the side. One of the cylinders is severely cracked and damaged. Here, along with the second cylinder, the second set is intact, and the second set is in much better condition. There is still no major mark on the tracks of the block itself. Because of the fire, the dynamo was dismantled, and the plastic part in it was completely destroyed, and the air conditioning secret here, all its connections were broken. The thermostat and water pump do not have any heat reaching this area. From the outside, the crank comes out tomorrow and removes a cover from behind it. The cam chain is collected. All the good sensors are collected in bags.
Here is the hydraulic lifter. There is no chipping or cracking on them. He turns the entire engine over and removes the carburetor bolts. It will be in a plate or sheet that filters the oil and reduces the oil spray from the inside. He removes the suction pipe and lifts the layer intervening with it.
The gasket has a nice appearance here as well. The mixture of water and oil is present everywhere, but the block itself and the composition of everything are completely metal. The oil pump cover is the same as it is excellent, but the components of the pump from the inside have traces of friction or rust. The oil filter comes out and the first pyrene or spike comes out from under it. The place where it was installed is in good condition. He completes the removal of all the caps and pulls out the gardens outside of one of them, destroying the rings around the head of the gardens. At the end, the crank saw the big one, and my shaft was punched from the heart of the block. He examines the block from every angle. The only worry is at the cylinder, which he saw at the beginning. The step of disassembling the entire engine is over. There are very many pieces everywhere, including burnt-out parts, some that are half-finished, and the one that is completely intact. He decided that the timing chain will not be reused again. He reassures that the block itself is intact, and at the worst estimate, he can sell these engine parts from their users. This was the easy part at the beginning of this project. He will then move on to think about the steps of the process of building the burnt chassis. Let us increase the pace of this rebuilding a little because it took a very long time to film this process. He spent about 1.5 years posting continuous updates to it, so he was comfortable with the time and the very details. He bought a red-eye model car that was also burned, but in a smaller way than the first. The plan was to cut up the parts of the chassis that he needed, but he found that the car was not damaged at all. I think that if he sold the chassis itself, he could earn more from it and give the drivetrain as a gift to one of his followers. He keeps parking this vehicle on the side right now, far from the Demon project, but he still needs a donor vehicle for the chassis and interior. I bought a Challenger Hellcat that had an accident like this. He has 3 Challenger Eld Marine vehicles here. There is a strong hit on the chassis at this stage. He will never review the price, stop updating the amounts, but in the end, he will see how many bills have reached. He will take this gray truck into the garage and then push a Demon chassis on tow wheels. He will take out the chairs, dismantle the console, and separate the hoop from installing it. He will think about how to dismantle the entire car, literally, but it remains the least possible effort he will need, a terrible arrangement for the process. This is the first step in transporting the suspension system. He takes out the 1000-frame bolts and raises the body of the vehicle up. He pulls the gasoline filling tube to the tank from behind and will complete a lift to the end. The engine of the Hellcat with the front axle on the suspension came out. They are a big engine, of course, and the super from above it is much higher and has more layers. The rear axle will be intact because it was far from the accident that was in front.
The body of the Hellcat will be lifted outside and the engine will be raised to separate it from the frame and so on. It has the front and rear axle. There are not many differences between the Demon suspension and the Hellcat suspension. It will be replaced with any sound part of the Demon suspension and it will be installed again in the axles of the Hellcat. He installed the whole piece in its final place. He will dismantle the supporting bar to the width of the hood and he will start nailing the front right row and lower the car onto it. He installed the entire lower part successfully and then goes to the terrifying interior. He keeps removing the burnt door and sawing off the tire shaft, breaking it. The areas are all charred and the metal frame that holds the dashboard is installed and it is raised from every direction to enter the steering column from the front. It connects the column to the steering box and is attached to the tire of the Hellcat. The appearance is still burnt, of course. It is believed that when the pedals were cleaned, the heat did not reach all the heat on the iron floor underneath. He brings a set of new tires that are the same size from Damon's special production, semi-slick wheels, and of course, rear tires, very wide, with a width size of 315 inches on the 18-inch Soldiers, and with enthusiasm for the Arab beginning, it came down on wheels. The second person was trying to pull the car to the outside of a garage, and the steering of the steering wheel would be working properly. It would be avenged. The important thing is that many parts of the furniture were burned, so it will remain to be removed. The easiest first is the largest surface that was burned, of course, the ceiling, and most of it was already dismantled due to the heat. Cutting off part of the corner to reveal welding points underneath by pushing from under the roof. His roof moves, all the fixing places. He removes it with a hammer drill from a large piece, almost without effort. He removes the bar that is the width of the roof. He dismantles it from both directions. The post is the next piece. He begins to remove the welding points along the borders of the entire door. The first one will remove the outer piece, so between the last part from under the end of the post, he will remove the entire outer cover. He will check the quality of the basic structure to stabilize the roof in a slanting part that is clearly defective. He will come back and remove parts again. A lot of the interior was piles of charred plastic pieces. About 5 hours of work was spent on this part, and there was still a lot of fossilized and wandering around the interior floor. He used more than one tool to save effort, but he did not know how to save time at all. He took a whole day in the process of cleaning the interior, cleaning the rest of the traces with a broom, and finally he got rid of all the damage that was in this place, emptying the bag from the storage in it and removing the internal lock of the lid. He will work on the back quarter. He will remove the rest of the gas generation and turn on the lights. Then he will remove the amber and the side flaps. He will separate the layers from each other and cut the quarter with a missile from underneath and from every angle. He will remove the grip of the layers from each other, and his file will strike from every direction on the borders of the iron. The interior area will have a dent, but it is certainly possible to adjust it by tightening. There is no need to replace any internal structure. Here, the quarter is a very large area. The whole car has huge dimensions in the first place. The intact pieces are from the gray chassis, but there are still other pieces that need to be removed from their place. He orders a new rear quarter panel from the same company as Dodge,
because removing it from the cardamom will be difficult and will burn a lot of time. He bought the air vent that is on the hood and also a new air filter with the Demon logo, and a new gate or zipper rotor to replace the one that was destroyed, and finally an interior upholstery for the trunk. He removes the seal on the sail and transports it to the owner, which he will then take. All the gases are intact, and the same thing goes with the front barbell with the small missile, digging a passage above the roof and using a pond to separate the layers. In front of him, a drill bit will check all the welding points. The corners here are starting to open from the inside. Also, there is a fixation on the supporting bar. After many times of dismantling each corner, he knew how to separate the roof outside the car. The same thing happened with the front support plate. It has two, right and left, and he also took the bar across the width, and through the helicopters, all of them remained outside. The engine arrived after that, re-equipping it except for turning, polishing, and drilling the seams. Here, all the internal parts of the engine, other than the gardens, along with their bearings, and also all the garden rings and all the gaskets, of course, are renewed. Any piece that was worn out, he replaces it with an intact one. He prepares the roof for the car for installation. He brings the quarter to see the appropriate size for the cut and begins welding all the borders. There are very many welding points as usual. He installs bars that are as wide as the ceiling, and he licks and welds a spot in the iron. He knows how to tighten this area in order to adjust it. He tightens the entire side of the car. The frame of the gasket is installed in its place properly. Then they put down the new roof. The size from afar, it looks perfect. He put putty on the area of the roof welding line. He installs the door hinge and brings the door of the gray helicopter, but the difference line in the caravan areas increases. He sold the place to install it from the front many times. After that, he adjusts the door lock easily. He installs a used flap that he had in the workshop. He collects 3 bumpers from different Challenger versions and collects the correct pieces to reach feet similar to the original Demon bike. Lighting from both directions, and they have new bumpers. The differentials still need to be adjusted more. He cleaned the interior very well before spraying layers of primer in every area. He covered the entire floor. He bought a fourth Hellcat so that all the electrical wires would be hot from it. After removing the locking layers of the entire car, he found 2 braids in the interior. He dismantled the meters, the screen, and the entire dashboard, and he took out the iron frame from underneath it, pulling the electrical braid. The direction of the bag is fixed in a track along the length of the car, all of it with special wires for operating the interior. It is transported in the same order. Many of the wires for the one who separates all the connectors from around the engine. If he was working on a German model, it is impossible to find. He brought 4 cars, emptying while in one of them, he dismounts the entire engine from the car. They will never be needed here, but he will remove them. The main motor wiring is pulling all the wires outside the chassis. It is redistributing the modules to their places in the interior. This is a real enthusiastic progress. Now the wires are inserted into the buzzer machine from the inside of the door. The roof mats are installed from the front. The replacement kit connects the clutch pressure sensor and another one for controlling the gate. It installs the built mechanism. The steering column covers the floor with carpets. Behind it,
the rear speaker shell is fixed and the front is installed with sound insulation. What is under the sofa, and finally the dash is made of a separate plastic frame that is fixed from every angle to an iron frame underneath. It completes the interior upholstery and returns every piece of the new dashboard. The interior is 90% ready. For example, it includes the Hellcat chairs, but it changed the graphic on it for the logo. The Dimension bucket seats have a sporty appearance but are very comfortable. They conduct electricity from an external charger, and many of the pieces pick up the electricity of every possible bulb. He responded, of course, because there is still no engine, gear, or brakes in the car. He buys a holder for the coolers and a balance bar for suspension, as well as a hood cover. The most important thing is that he received the supercharger after re-cleaning it. The sensor changed all the external operating parts for him, and the black color hides the traces of damage that may be visible on the outer structure. He prepares the surface of the chassis basin with his hand, painting all the layers with a protective fluid. He goes over all parts of the car from the front first thing. He installs it in the basin, which is the servo with the brake master connected to it, and from the side of it, he connects the clutch master tubes to the brake oil tank box. He installs the rest of the ABS system lines with the control unit on the right side above its seat. From underneath, he raises the brake oil delivery lines. He brings the gasoline tank of the Hellcat, but replaces the pump with the one that was present on the Demon, and it raises it to a place where it is attached to the chassis. It connects the hoses to the charcoal canister with the tank and is fixed in it. Its place is inside the circumference of the wheel. The battery is located behind it. It connects the braid with its edges and closes the bag's lining. At the border of the cover, it places the insulation skin. It fixes the lighting with the frame of the coolers. There is a logo for the one on the lantern on the inside, but the light on the right has a logo and Hellcat. It's a nice movement, to be honest, because the car is actually a mix between the Demon and the Hellcat. It brings a new cab cover and installs plastic in it at the opening from the inside. He installs a piece that directs the air and holds on his hinges. The differential line with the fenders is very large. He tried more than one adjustment with the installation location, but the lock is still not tight. He will probably leave it like that because there is no solution currently. The exterior body of the car has many pieces from different models in different colors from everywhere. It is like the process of assembling Frankenstein in the famous story. It must go now. It remains for the power step to drop the engine with the manual transmission. He installs the external connections of the supercharger. He assembles all the layers of the charger on top of the block and puts silicone on the gate. Then he installs it in the driveway with the supercharger on the side to connect it to pass the water. He changes the original tires for Demon with the black ones that came with the Hellcat. He buys a set of new coils, 8, one for each cylinder, of course, and also a set of spray guns from the aftermarket, but with the same specifications as the original D sprayers, with capacity. He sprayed 1700 cc per minute and used the original sprayer ruler that was in the car.
He installed the tensioner mounting piece with the small pulley on it. He also bought a new dynamo. The last thing he needed were the iron holders that hold the bases of the motor, wrapping the belt on all the pulleys. But he decided to cancel the entire air conditioning system, as the compressor space had left a large area, leaving the belt very loose. It would be good for him to measure the length of the new shorter pulleys and bring a second belt new. The new size is exactly the same. He buys a complete clutch set. They have a light flywheel made of aluminum. It fixes the gear to the crank, and outside of it are screws that hold the clutch disc. He mounts the circular clutch assembly, and their number here is 3 cylinders.
This view aims to increase the surface on which friction occurs and to deliver a very large torque with efficiency. This shape is double the price of a regular sports clutch, and it reduces them in the end. The compressor, with its torque wrench, brings a new hydraulic ball. This is the piece that actually separates the transmission from the clutch. This shape is sporty. He prefers the traditional type of manual cars. He installs the transmission in the engine. A very, very strong system. Of course, he connects all the sockets and lifts the engine from the block and lowers it onto the row. He connects them together and is now ready to enter the cabin. He brings stock-shaped headers, which he installs outside because their installation will be much easier. He lowers the body of the car and the engine and takes up all the space exactly on the stove. Finally, the car came back with its system, 100% sound movement from underneath. He connects the gear shift to the chassis of the chassis. He applies the brakes in a traditional way, and it will take a very long time. The pedal moves with him. In the end, he removes the middle bearing through which the drive shaft passes. He also buys a new shifter that takes the old one out of the gearbox from underneath. There's a big difference in appearance, but the design is one that raises it to its place from under the car and is able to stabilize it from inside the interior. Then he raises the exhaust system. The original car is completely locked from the bottom. He now needs to connect the cooling to the engine so that he can start the car. He installs the frame of the side coolers and connects the oil passage hoses. He changes the filter with the new cold air NT. He brought a small catch box. He will deliver it before starting it. He receives the new computer unit after programming it and connects to his hatch. The first one goes to spray the whole car. In a plumbing job, it will be done. Of course, in each part, there are many areas that need to be more level than their current condition. The first furniture layer was sprayed and painted in the official red color. It is a bright, fiery red color. It is very dangerous. A fantastic effort has been made to reach this stage. It is really changing the marking of the Demon logo with the logo of the drawing that was initially drawn on the disc. The chassis work is completely finished. The last riser on the right was damaged and burned, so it will not be shortened to this structure. So instead of clearing the riser, in harmony with the car, he repeatedly does the opposite. He burns the ceiling so that it interferes with the view of the people and the burned door. It is a strange thing, honestly, thinking this way. But as I told you at the beginning, he is playing and sat an entire episode on YouTube. He burns in this ceiling so that in the end he gets to this shape. It would have been really beautiful if only a small part of the effects of the fire had been left, as just a memory or a sign of the car's past. This is beautiful, but in general it was already burned out. The important thing is that he joins the crazy rebuilding of this Dodge Hellcat No. 5. There was no solution to the problems of the software and learning about the manual transmission, except that he got a wiring harness for the same gear, but from a manual car. The two cars now have the same transmission system and are of the same model, except 2018. He enters a spiral of removing the wires from all the trucks. The second move will make him disassemble the entire interior so that he removes all the wires from the area. There's a hole of wire for many meters on the ground. Part of the problem was in these units. The important thing is that he quickly starts installing the new braid.
Yeah!
It's true that the Arabic has not started, but just hearing the sound of the engine rotating is a sign that the installation is complete. He takes out the gasoline pump and replaces the braid with the one that was available on Demon, and it actually works. This gear shifter is on it. Where is a gasoline pump? Here, from the front, it fills coolant, and the pager begins again. The mode still does not work at all. I suspect that the problem is in the relay for the pump. It does not work. It switches in both directions and is about to start again, but it is still just a ticking sound that is not clear.
He stays on the phone for about 2 hours. I do not know where the problem is at all, but in the end, it happened with very many random attempts. A whole year has passed since he bought this car. He waited a really long time for the Demon to start again. The Demon came back from hell, literally. The sight of this gray smoke is not a good thing at all. He loses the feeling of increased power from the gas pedal, and in the end, the problem is eliminated by the quality of the gasoline that was put in the entire tank by vacuuming it. He buys 85 ethanol gasoline and goes to test this monster. He notices that the water temperature is very high, about 135 degrees, which is a lot. Of course, he finds that all the hoses for cooling the supercharger are cold. He goes back to emptying all the water and disconnecting the hoses from their place. The problem here is in the intercooler water pump for the supercharger. It was completely disconnected and did not damage the water in its path. He goes to dismantle this pump from the Gray Hulk, goes back to riding it in Demon. He notices vibration after he grabs the hoses, and this means that there is water movement inside them. He takes the car on the dyno to measure its power. The first reading recorded 809 HP, but the second reading was better, recording 826 HP. So it is almost very close to the official number, which is 840. He makes sure that the number is high and perfect from the beginning, so that it will begin to increase to the maximum level. It is possible to install bike racing cooling for the car. The system will have pieces of ice, a pump, and spray tubes equipped with 2 cylinders of nitrous. We will not go into the details of a modification like this. He is currently preparing a video about modifying a car that he loves very much. At that time, we will talk in details at our convenience about the modification. The important thing is that after he equipped the car with the new parts, he went to measure its power. This time, it registered a power of 4 numbers, 1,005 horsepower on the wheel. Here, this model of the Demon has turned into a genie, and with that, the marathon of rebuilding the burnt Dodge Demon is over. It is an exhausting journey, but very enjoyable indeed, because the more the difficulty increases, the more the repair value increases. In the end, the cost of rebuilding, along with the price of the car that he bought from the auction, reached $71,000, a very large number considering that the original price, or the one currently available in the used one, is average $100,000. The calculation of the cost was not clear at all, because as you saw, there were 5 Challenger models, all of them in the place. He knew how to sell parts of them, and there were cars that he repaired and sold completely, because in the end, Carter had his family's business in the first place, so there is no car that appeared in this video he did not profit in trading in it. But he kept the money permanently for himself. But that's it. If you like this video, write us your opinion in the comments below. Thank you very much if you have reached this minute. Make sure you subscribe and wait for everything new from us. Peace be upon you.